I made a video about, I posted a video about mirrorless and DSLR cameras because I had someone ask me the difference, right? Like exactly what the difference is. So I made a really great in-depth video about the difference between like a DSLR camera and a mirrorless camera. And I got some really, really great questions, great questions on that video. And one of them was whether or not the sensor like wears out faster, because with the mirrorless cameras, the sensor is constantly relaying the image to your viewfinder, right? So basically your sensor is always working. And someone asked if that makes your sensor sort of, burn out faster. And the answer is pretty much no. And then I got another question about whether or not the image quality is better on a mirrorless over a DSLR. So I made a really cool video this morning where I took the exact same photo with both cameras. And I'm gonna post that later. Looks like I'm frozen. Am I frozen? Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. This is just because I'm on. Here we go. Corinthus, thank you so much for the rose. I appreciate you. Alrighty, guys. Can I have a free camera? I can't afford one. I'm so sorry to hear that, Willis. I'm not doing any giveaways at this time, no, but I have done giveaways in the past. I've given away 3 cameras so far. Maybe someday more in the future, but right now I don't have any giveaways going on so far. Traveling with the Olsons. How are you? Where are you? Corinthus is all the way over in Malaysia. That is super cool. I love hearing, all over the world. It's so incredible. So incredible. Oh my gosh, you're also in Malaysia. How funny. Very cool. How long will you be there? Are you getting any good photos? I'm sure you are. What a silly question. You get hot pixels. Oh, really? Very interesting. I haven't had that problem at all on my mirrorless. However, it's very rare that I'm doing like any type of long exposure or, shooting in really hot conditions, anything like that. Skylar over in central Pennsylvania, you're not far from me, over here by Philly and the New Jersey border. And then trying to get good pictures. Yes, aren't we all? Another week and then over to Indonesia. So amazing. The Olsons are living the dream life, you guys. It's so exciting. So Sahem is mentioning Lightroom. So as you guys know, I have my Lightroom workflow is posted right there on my website, nancysmiley.com. If you go to my website, you can go to the freebie section, and I have a free download for you, which is my Lightroom checklist. So it's basically my beginning to end workflow in Lightroom, how exactly I edit my images. And if you guys want to work in Lightroom today, we totally can. Gentry, you would really benefit from, if you're a beginner, I would really recommend getting my Aperture Priority Guide. It's going to teach you how to not use auto so much on your computer and instead use Aperture Priority Mode. Or you could go ahead and download my manual mode settings cheat sheet if you just want to dive right into manual mode. I have different settings suggestions based on lighting, what you're photographing, and things like that. R50 is a great camera to learn on. Artography, how are you doing today, my dear? Tabitha, the D850 over the mirrorless, right? The D850 is an incredible camera. No, there's no problem with choosing a DSLR over a mirrorless, especially the D850. The D850 has that 45 megapixel sensor, which is a total beast. I wish I had the D850. I don't know anything about the Pi app, so sorry about that. But yeah, the R50, someone's asking about the Canon R50. Yes, that's a great camera for beginners. Prosperous, what are you having for breakfast today, my darling? Chico is stating that they have the Nikon Z8 and they are using a gray card to set their white balance, but they can't exactly figure out how to set it when shooting. So, Chico, one thing here, yeah, the D750, that's this guy right here. So I just took a video this morning and I'm going to upload it later on today. Yesterday, I uploaded a video comparing these two cameras, actually this camera and this camera right here, full frame mirrorless versus full frame DSLR. And I talked about all of the exact differences between a mirrorless and a DSLR camera. So it's a really, really good video. And somebody commented and asked, does this, what's the image quality comparison? So today I'm going to post a video where I've taken the same image on both cameras. And we're going to compare them. And so that's a really great video that I can't wait to upload later on. So Chico's asking about a gray card. Where is my gray card? I don't know where my gray card is. Well, it doesn't matter. So with a gray card, Chico, they're extremely useful when you're taking images in an area where the lighting is not going to change, okay? If you are doing golden hour or if you're outdoors and you're going from sunny to shady, situation like that, you don't want to use your gray card. You want to use your gray card when it's going to be consistent lighting throughout the entire session. So I actually have a video. AvGeek shared my live. Thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate you, my darling. I have a video on my profile that tells you step by step how to set up your white balance using the gray card. But essentially, you take the image of the gray card first, but actually, if you're shooting in RAW, you can actually take the image of the gray card last. And if you edit your images in Lightroom, there is a way to use that picture of the gray card to set the white balance for all of the photos that you took in that lighting. So that's a little thing that I teach my students how to do on, is that in my Lightroom course or my photography course? I actually can't remember right now, but essentially you will get your gray card and you will set it up in the lighting condition where you're going to do your session, right? So you'll, now here's the thing, when you're taking you have to take a picture of the gray card where all that is invisible in the entire frame is the gray card. So you actually have to get quite close to it, right? And because the gray card is all you can see, a lot of times the lens cannot focus because there's nothing for it to focus on. So a little trick that I can teach you is you want to switch your lens over into manual focus, because sometimes the camera won't let you take the image when the lens is not focused. So basically, fill your entire frame with the gray card. Set your exposure right at the 0 mark. You want to be in manual mode for this. You have to be in manual mode. So you don't want any overexposure or any underexposure. You want your light meter to be right at 0. And then you take a picture of that gray card. And then depending on the camera model, you will go into your camera settings, into the white balance, into the custom option, and then it will ask you what image you want to use to set the custom white balance, and that's going to be the image of the gray card. Okay, so here we go. Eggs with a side of waffles. That's amazing, Prosperous. Thank you so much for the kind words. So Artography is asking why the denoise, the AI denoise feature takes so long and that it took 3 days to denoise 200 images. This all comes down to your computer, actually. So in order to run this software, your computer needs a lot of like brain power, okay? So this is called RAM memory on a computer. So Adobe recommends that you have 16 gigabytes of RAM memory in order to run Lightroom well, quickly, efficiently. I argue that because I have a laptop that has 16 gigabytes of RAM memory and it's incredibly slow in Lightroom. Heaven forbid I want to play Spotify at the same time or have my internet browser open, forget about it. I would recommend getting a computer, laptop or desktop, that has 32 gigabytes of RAM memory or more. RAM memory is basically like the brain power of the computer, and the more you have, the faster it can run Lightroom, especially the AI features. Okay, so Prosperous is asking, why should I not stay on auto mode for long term? There's a lot of answers to this, Prosperous. So number one, when you're in auto mode, your camera is choosing everything for you. How bright the image is, how dark the image is, where your focus is, what person you focus on. It is choosing your metering, what part of the image is dark, what part is bright. It is choosing your shutter speed, if you capture motion blur or not. So if you ever wanted to capture a silhouette image, if you ever wanted to have, a portrait with a beautiful blurry background, if you were ever in a very tricky lighting situation like a sunset, or if you're standing under a shaded tree, all of these conditions, your camera is going to struggle. Your camera on auto will take a great image if the conditions are 100% perfect, but that is a very, very big answer that we would have to talk more specifically about. So if you have specific questions about any of those things I just mentioned, let me know. Okay. Thank you guys for posting questions in the comment section. So just a quick disclaimer, I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. If I miss your question, please just repost it and I will get to it at my best abilities, right? My website right here, I have free downloads. I have a manual mode settings cheat sheet, 47 free child poses, my Lightroom editing workflow. I have a blog, lots of free resources, and then I have my highly acclaimed photography courses. So if you're interested in taking any of my courses, you can get a discount code emailed to you after the live if you click on this little yellow Service Plus box and you enter your email address. I'll email you a 10% off coupon code. Okay, so trash. Wait. Okay. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I lost where I was in my comments. I am streaming from my laptop today, you guys, so I kind of look side to side from comments to no comments. Greg, you're totally allowed to ask questions. Trash is asking, how do you focus in a dark room? I had an issue where my autofocus wouldn't work. Trash Chicken, your username is hilarious. I don't know what the story is on that, but that is funny. So sometimes you can't. Sometimes you truly cannot. Your camera needs two things in order to focus. Your lens, your camera. It needs light and it needs contrast. So if you are in a very, very bright room, right? So if we were in this room right now, as you can see, I am very well lit. Oops. There's a lot of things I need to say about this. Number one, so as you can see, all I have is my blue shirt in the frame. There's no contrast. Everything in the frame is the exact same color. Your camera cannot focus in that environment. And then when it's too dark, your camera can't see anything. So it can't lock onto something that in order to focus. Your camera sees black and white, and it sees a whole lot of mix of lines and dots and patterns, right? So it needs something of high contrast, like the difference between black and white, and it will find focus. So what you can do if there's no help for it and you need to find focus in an area that's too dark, you have two options. You can switch, well, you have one option really, which is to switch to manual focus, which can be a difficult technique if you're a beginner. The other thing that I suggest you do, there is a setting in your camera, depending on your camera, but most cameras these days, you can change the settings. So as they come to you off the manufacturing line, if you don't have focus, it won't take a picture, but you can actually override that setting so that your camera will allow you to take a picture even when your lens is not focused. So that's what I have to say about that, and let me know if you have follow-up questions. Nancy is my Google. Prosperous, you are amazing. That's very funny. Let's see. Yeah, so AvGeek is giving suggestions to Trash Chicken on how to get the scene to be brighter. We can also talk about that as well. And Lyra is talking about adding RAM memory to your computer. I did not know that was a thing. Very cool. Cece is asking for tips to take her husband's work headshots. Yes. So Cece, you would really benefit from either my Aperture priority mode guide or my manual mode settings cheat sheet on my website. Totally free. And Aperture, you could even do the Aperture priority mode guide. It'll give you a few lessons on what exactly Aperture is and how it makes your image darker or brighter, or more blurry or less blurry. So you could take a really great headshot if you download that Aperture priority mode guide. Tips for you, if you're a total beginner and you're currently on auto, I would suggest that you use Aperture priority mode. Set your aperture. If you're using a lens that will only go down to like 3.5, keep it at 3.5. If you have like a 50 millimeter lens that will go down to like 1.8, I don't recommend going that low, but keep it kind of low in the 2 or 3, F2, F3 zone. Stand about 10 feet back and let her rip on Aperture priority mode in a well-lit area. Also, you'll have more background blur if you pull your subject away from the background. So a lot of times, like let's say you're using a brick building or something and you're taking your husband's headshot. Don't have him stand right next to the brick building. Have him stand like 10 or 20 feet away from the brick building. Okay, Alex is asking, will higher ISO still result in grain or not because the darkness of the setting cancels it out? So ISO, I got a weird text message. The darkness of the setting cancels it out. I don't know what that means, but that's not true. So here's the thing that I always talk about with ISO and noise, because when we are beginners, oh, Prosperous sent me a cute little kitty cat. Thank you. Also, I appreciate you guys being patient while I answer questions. You are all so cool. 2,000 likes. Thank you guys so much for that. So, and also hello to my dazzling Katie, my wonderful Katie student. How are you? ISO and noise. So when we are beginner photographers, we make this mistake all too often where we know that having a high ISO, 800, 1600, 3200, 6400 will make our image more and more and more grainy. This is especially true if we're using cameras that are crop frame DSLR cameras, like Nikon D3200, 3400, 3500, or the Canon Rebel T7, T6, those types of cameras. So what beginners do is they keep their ISO too low intentionally because they know that if they make it too high, they'll get grain. So they'll intentionally keep their ISO at like 200 or 400, even though the image is too dark, with the intention of increasing the exposure later on. This is going to lead to more grain in your images than if you had actually just increased that ISO to maybe 1600 and gotten a properly exposed image. So if you're a longtime follower of mine, you've heard me give that spiel a lot. So I'm not going to dive into it too much because I am a little bit like a broken record with that. But if you want me to talk more about it, let me know in the comments. Okay. So people are talking about what RAM memory is. That's very helpful. I don't have experience using any third-party lenses, JP, but a lot of people use Sigma and love it. My photography mentor when I was learning had a few Sigma lenses, totally fine. But I don't personally, so I can't say really. Let's see. What camera would I start with that would be good for the long run? If I were starting out today and I was looking for a camera that I could use for the next 10 years, I would probably get a crop frame mirrorless camera. I would only get a full frame if I was planning to go pro and have a client base and charge for my photography. Other than that, I would get a crop frame mirrorless camera if I wanted to. Yeah, that's what I would do. If anybody needs my suggested gear, my favorite memory cards, my favorite lenses, my favorite cameras, please go to my website, nancysmiley.com. Right there on the home page, I have a link that takes you to my Amazon page. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, no wonder my pics all look the same. Yeah, so in auto mode, your camera is going to try its best to achieve middle gray exposure and many other things. So a lot of times our images on auto do look the same, and they look a little bit more snapshotty, and they don't have a lot of background separation and things like that. I have the 2470 2.8Z mount lens. Let's see. Is it fine to use JPEG instead of RAW when you are shooting sports? I've been using it for the past 2 years. Hey, Jaden, yes. Oh my gosh, there's 122 people in here. Hey, everybody. Totally. It's totally fine to shoot JPEG when you're using, especially in sports, where you might need to share these images right away with the teams or the coaches or whomever, as well as taking a lot of images. It's totally fine to do JPEG. The only time that I would suggest doing RAW is for images that you know will need some editing later on. Images that are going to really showcase your portfolio, stuff like that. It's not always necessary to shoot in RAW. Okay, let's see. Can't decide between PGY Tech or Peak Design or even Ulanzi. I only have a PGY Tech strap. That's this one right here. It is linked on my Amazon, but I'm sure any of those are totally fine. I use back button focus, Elva Tolo. I use back button focus. So here's the thing, Jaden, to go back to Jaden about the JPEG and the RAW. So a RAW image is not going to look better straight out of camera. Why? Let's talk about the difference between RAW and JPEG. So here's the thing. Whether your camera is in RAW or in JPEG, it's always going to take the picture in RAW format. Now, when your camera is set to JPEG, what your camera then does in a very, very fast manner is what? This is so crazy. I just got a live restriction. Again, I've been getting these every single day, which is really a bummer. Let me screenshot this so that I can remember what the problem is. And Sorry guys, just doing a little, that's really frustrating. Okay. All right, so if you're in JPEG, your camera is going to take the image in RAW, then it's going to give it a little bit of contrast, give it a little bit of noise reduction, maybe a little bit of color grading, and then it's going to flatten the image, compress it, and delete all of the extra raw data. So a JPEG file actually straight out of camera looks better than a raw image, because a raw image, the colors are going to be a little desaturated. It's going to be slightly noisier. It's going to look a little less oomphy, right? Because the entire purpose of a raw image is that you get all of that raw data to go in and manipulate yourself. You can do your own color grading, your own tone curve, your own contrast, you can turn it black and white, you can play with the shadows and the highlights, denoise, you know, all of this. So straight out of camera, a JPEG is going to look better than a raw. That's the entire purpose, right? Okay, let's see. Taylor is having trouble taking a self-portrait using the self-timer and getting the autofocus to stay on them. So this is a really common problem, Taylor, actually. There's a couple things you can do. You can use the Nikon Snap Bridge app. However, I don't usually suggest it. I actually have a video. I've made 2 videos on how to take a self-portrait. One of the tricks that I suggest is, so there's a couple things. Have a placeholder stand where you will be. If you're taking a self-portrait, you can put like a big plant or a chair or something there. Pre-focus on it, set your focus on that item, and then take your lens out of autofocus and switch it over to manual. That means that when you then turn on the self-timer and the camera takes the image, it's not going to refocus. So you'll set the self-timer, you'll go over there, you'll move the plant or whatever, and then you'll stand there. My second, if you're taking like family photos, you can just focus on your husband or your child or your partner instead, and then go stand with them. Another thing is many cameras these days, if you have like a newer, oh wait, you have the D7500, so it probably doesn't have this feature, but for anybody else who this might help, cameras these days have the ability, there's something in the settings where you can tell it not to refocus when it takes an image when you are in the self-timer mode. So that's really helpful as well. Hello to you, Piku. So Reagan is talking about how it's because I have my website right here. Well, that's really annoying. Maybe I'll just turn that off for now. Although I already have the restriction, so I may as well. Okay, I'm just going to scroll to the bottom of the comments. And then if I missed your comment, please just repost it. Amar is saying the fun of photography is lost in RAW because it's more post-processing rather than a straight photo. Every photographer is going to have a different opinion on that. For some photographers, they feel themselves more as like creative artists that find more joy in those edits. Sorry, I gotta take another picture. Okay. Oops. So they find more joy in doing that creative editing process than the actual photo. And then there are other photographers who find the most joy in capturing these moments and, turning them into, lifelong memories. So it really depends on the kind of photographer that you are. Let's see. A lot of people are asking for camera recommendations. So there's a lot of different price ranges being mentioned. 1,000. I saw one for 800, I think, or 500. Yeah, 800. So please, you guys, go to. There's whether you want a mirrorless or a DSLR is a really big factor here, as well as if you already have lenses for Canon or Nikon. So please check out my Amazon list where I have all of those suggested models. My favorites are the Z52, which is, I feel like it's around 1,000, but it might be 1,500. Yeah, I have a couple different cameras mentioned there that you can price shop with. Natasha is asking for tips shooting in harsh light, hate being tied to only sunrise or sunset. So Natasha, what I would recommend, if you have to do it like midday, the best thing to try to do is find open shade. But if you can't find open shade, I would recommend taking along with you a reflector. It's like a $10 tool, and you just point it at your subject and it bounces the light back onto your subject so that you don't get those really harsh shadows. So that is a good suggestion. I'm not familiar with shooting infrared. Greg, sorry. I think you've commented that a couple times. So I can't speak on that, my friend. I apologize for that. Apple is asking if I find using the Nikon lens adapter, which is right here. This is the adapter on the 50mm lens, if it's different than having the mirrorless lens. I do not find a difference at all, Apple. So when I first bought my mirrorless camera, I used my DSLR lenses for, I mean, at least 8 or 10 months. With an adapter, and honestly I probably would prefer it rather than spending the big bucks on the mirrorless lenses. Let's see, what camera should I upgrade to? Going from the Lumix, I don't like to suggest gear, you guys, because like I said, it's so heavily based on the kind of photography you do and what, if you want mirrorless or DSLR, and lots of things. So gear is like my least favorite thing to talk about, really, because it's the least interesting part of photography, in my opinion. Ooh, Callum says there is a special on Amazon for cameras. And then Amar is asking about focus stacking in the Z8 for macro. So you'll have to go into your photo shooting menu, Amar. If you go into menu and you go into the little thing here, the photo shooting menu, it's usually the second option. This is where you will go and find your focus stacking options. So, or like focus shift is another way to do this. So you will have to go into that menu and you will have to choose how many shots you want to take, what focus width you want to change, and all sorts of things. So you'll have to go in there and decide. I would recommend a minimum of 5 shots for sure. And as far as the step width, you might want to take it at every step, would be my suggestion on that. Lisa is asking, at what point did I realize I was ready to switch from a DSLR to a mirrorless? I had no strong reason to buy a mirrorless other than I really wanted one. So my DSLR there was nothing wrong with my DSLR, the D750. The shutter count is high. It's at about 160,000, but I was having no faulty shutter issues, no sensor issues. I wasn't having any issues with this camera at all. However, I have used this one for almost 8 years, and so I really just wanted to get a new camera. I really just wanted to get a new camera, and especially because I didn't even have a backup, and so I bought a mirrorless camera. So, let's see. As a beginner, you should not shoot in RAW. As a beginner, I would not recommend shooting in RAW. This is because you have to edit these images. So you have to take them into an editing software like Lightroom or something like that, and you have to apply editing. So when you're a beginner, you should focus on learning photography, learning your camera, learning what metering modes are and how to get sharp focus and how to change your exposure settings in manual mode. That should be your main focus. If you're taking photos in RAW, you also have to learn how to edit them. You have to learn how to take them into Lightroom and adjust the blacks and the whites and, reduce your highlights if needed, and do all of this without introducing clipping and things like that. So I would not recommend that that beginner photographers shoot in RAW. First, learn your camera, then you can get out of JPEG and go over into RAW if you have a desire to edit your images. Angel, if you're going to be buying a flash, I highly recommend that you get a flash that has TTL mode. This stands for through the lens flash, and it's really, really great for beginners. When you're using flash, you're kind of doing the opposite of what you would be doing when you're not using flash. So when we're taking an image without flash, we adjust our shutter speed, our ISO, and our aperture in order to get exposure correct on our subject. So the person that we're taking a photo of, we don't want them to be too bright or too dark. We want it to be just right. When you're using flash, it is supposed to be your flash's job to properly expose your subject. So your job as the photographer is then to properly expose for the background. So you are going to set your exposure for the background elements, which theoretically means that your subject will then be too dark. Then you'll pop your flash on after you've set those exposure settings. You will put it into TTL mode, which enables the camera to tell the flash what settings you're using, and then your flash will determine the flash power that's needed, and then you can increase or decrease it. My favorite flash speed lights are recommended on my Amazon, which is on my website, nancysmiley.com. Let's see. Alex and BLAQ are, Black Lens. Black Lens and Alex are having a whole side convo. I love it. We're growing connections here. Addison is asking my opinion on prime lenses versus zoom lenses. So, oops, 1 second. So when I just barely invested in my first zoom lens about 3 or 4 months ago, which was the 2470. Up until then, for the last 8 years, I have always used prime lenses. So there was a couple reasons that I chose prime lenses. And number one is the price. Okay, so when I was first starting out, I didn't have tons of money to be spending on all these lenses. So prime lenses are less expensive. Prime lenses are also capable of having lower aperture values, which means a wider aperture. So for those who don't know, your aperture is representing a opening in your lens, right? So when you have a lens that is capable of opening all the way to 1.8 or 2.8 or 1.4, you have the ability to take an image in a darker environment because the lens opens so wide and lets lots of light into your camera sensor. Okay, so I preferred prime lenses for the price and the apertures. So I used the 35, the 50, and the 85 for everything that I did for 7 or 8 years, unless I was doing a wedding. If I did a wedding, I would rent a 2470 zoom lens because with weddings, you really need a lot of versatility. So I still prefer prime lenses, but that's probably because I've used them for 7 years. But another thing that I always tell beginners is zoom lenses can be a little bit harder to learn with because When you zoom in, your focus area shrinks and becomes more shallow versus when you're zoomed out. So you have to constantly pay attention to your aperture and the focus area in your image, because when you zoom in, it's going to become less focused, if that makes sense. Let's see. Okay, we have someone asking about a film, Soleil. I never know how to say this word. Soleil? I think it's Soleil, is asking about a film camera recommendation for a beginner. I would probably recommend something like the Nikon FE2, or you could do the Canon AE. They're pretty simple. They have a little bit of advanced features. That's probably what I would go with, depending on if you have a preference from Nikon or Canon. Let's see. But the Nikon has a good balance between like manual controls and like auto modes. So when you're learning, you know, that's really helpful. Okay. So Lisa, if you currently have a 50 millimeter and you need a new lens and you're currently doing lifestyle, family, and kids, if you're using a crop frame camera, I would recommend you get a 35 millimeter. My first camera that I purchased was a 50 millimeter and my second was a 35. The 50 millimeter, when you put it on a crop frame, it's actually more zoomed in than it is on a full frame. So if you're finding that your 50 millimeter is not giving you wide enough angles and you're having to stand really far away, you're gonna benefit from a 35 millimeter for sure. So I think that would be my suggestion if you wanna stick with prime lenses also. Kenya got the Nikon Z7 II because they were influenced by me. That's so exciting, Kenya. She's scared and excited. I relate to that 100%, but I'm really excited for you, my friend. And let me know how it goes. Let's see. Cool. I think I'm all caught up with questions. Let me scroll up through the comments for some of those that I missed. Yeah, looks like it's going pretty good. Okay, cool. I'm just reading through the comments, but we're good. We're good. So, I'm really excited because this Saturday I'm going to be going to a botanical garden, and I'm going to be taking like a styled shoot. So I'm really, really excited about that. Right now, black lens, I only have Nikons right now. I've never used a Canon. My very first camera was gifted to me. It was a Nikon D3400 when my son was born. So I was just a beginner. I didn't know anything about photography. And that's what I learned on. And I also bought 2 lenses. So then when I was ready to upgrade for a full frame, I already had 2 Nikon lenses. So I bought a Nikon full frame. I invested in 2 more lenses. So then when I got a mirrorless, I got a Nikon again. And then being here on social media, Nikon actually contacted me and sent me a few cameras to do as giveaways. And so that's why I have 3 Nikons now, but I don't have any Canons. Would a 35 millimeter prime do okay with landscape? Absolutely, absolutely. If you have a crop frame, again, it might, so the 35 is going to be more zoomed in. So when you put a 50 on a crop frame, it's actually going to look like an 85 millimeter lens. It's more zoomed in. When you put a 35 millimeter on a crop frame camera, it looks like a 50. So you have to multiply it by about 1.5 or 1.6. So the 35 might not be wide enough for landscapes. You might benefit from something like a 24 but I think you could probably get away with it. Oh, I know. I did 3 giveaways, and I don't have any giveaways going on right now. For the Z7 II, I use an off-brand speed light. I use a Vivitar speed light. I think it costs 70 or 80 bucks. It's on my Amazon. The R10 is not a crop frame. It's a full frame. So the 35 would do great for landscapes, for sure. Yeah. Black lens, do you have a Canon? Oh. Yeah, so someone was also talking about when you zoom in, how your aperture changes. I do not do off-camera flash usually. Crunchwrap Supreme, how you been, my friend? I haven't seen you in a while. No, I do mostly natural light, but when I do need to use flash, I just use a speed light on top of my camera with a diffuser. Definitely suggest using a diffuser or bouncing the light if you don't have a diffuser, but I prefer a diffuser. That way I could just point that flash right at my subject, but not blind their poor little eyeballs, for sure. Hey, Nancy. We have another Nancy that just joined us. Hello, my dearest. 11,000 likes, you guys. Thank you so much. And there's only about 40 people in here, so I appreciate you all. So Jay is asking, what is the first add-on that I would recommend getting for the new R50? You're a beginner. So Jay, I wouldn't suggest you buy anything. If there's anything that I suggest, I would recommend a new lens. So the lens that came with your camera is probably a zoom lens that has a variable aperture. So what that means is, so this lens here is a 16 to 50 millimeter. It's a little bit blurry. And the aperture is 3.5 to 6.3. So this means that when I am like at 16 millimeters, my aperture can go down to 3.5. So that opens up that aperture and lets more light into the camera. But as I zoom in, my aperture will change without me changing it. It forcibly changes to 6.3 as the maximum aperture. This is really limiting when you're taking photos indoors especially, or in any type of low light, sunset, golden hour environment. So I would recommend you get like a 50 millimeter lens instead. That would be my add-on. But as a beginner, beginners should not be worried about what flash to buy, what gear to buy. Worry about learning your camera, like manual mode or maybe even aperture priority mode. But that's what I would suggest. B, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Oh, you've got the 1850 2.8 crunch wrap. Very cool. Yes, this is the ZFC right here. Hi, Florencia. Hello, Quabena. How are you? I don't have any Tamron lenses, but a lot of people like Tamron lenses, and I wouldn't be opposed to getting a Tamron or a Sigma. I currently do not own any, though. Yeah, the 50 millimeter is nice because it's a relatively inexpensive upgrade from the kit lens that came with your camera. Let's see. Johanna, hello, my dear. How are you? Yeah, I'm so bummed that my live is being restricted. That sucks. That sucks. Oh well, what are we gonna do, you know? Katie, thank you for liking the live, my dear. You're so sweet. Always here. She's always here to support me. Oh, that is such a bummer, Callum. I hate waiting on Amazon. So with Fancy Flower, how are you doing? $28.75 for the wider. Would 35 prime be better for portraits? You have the 50 and the 85. The 35 is great when you are trying to get but I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, Fancy. If you already have the 28 to 75, you definitely don't need a 35 millimeter. If I'm doing up close portraits, I prefer 85 millimeters and above, because the higher that focal length goes, 85, 105, the background is more compressed. You get a more dreamy blur back here in the background. A 35 millimeter lens is technically a wide angle lens. So if you were to take an up close portrait, you would get wide faces, wide noses. You would get some lens distortion. Now, if you're using a 35 for a family shoot, anytime I was on the beach for a family, I love using the 35 because you can fit all 5 or 6 family members in the frame and you can get that beautiful background, the beach, the forest, whatever it is. So wide angles are really great for capturing a group of people and showing off the environment where you are. But when you want a really up close, intimate look, you do not want to use the 35. JG, what do you recommend for night baseball games under the field lights? My photos are always too dark. So JG, this is a very, very tricky situation to take photos in. Parents or loved ones who are trying to capture sports, it sucks because a lot of times they're beginners with their very first camera, but they now have an athlete that they want to capture images of, and it's incredibly hard to do sports photography, especially if you're indoors or night. So what I would suggest is you purchase a lens that has a lower aperture capability, like f2.8. The problem with this is they're very expensive. So you could get, a lot of times you want like a zoom lens, like a 70 to 200 or a 70 to 300 so that you can zoom in on the athlete. A zoom lens with a low aperture number is expensive. So you could maybe instead invest in a fixed lens, like one that does not zoom, like a 200 millimeter lens that does not zoom, but it has that low aperture and it's a little bit less expensive. The lower your F number can go, the brighter your image will be. And because you're such a great distance away, it's okay that the aperture is wide open like that. What lens are you currently using? Let's see. Addison, thank you for following me. I have 18 new followers. Thank you. Please check out my website, nancysmiley.com, for anybody that is new here. There's lots of resources there for you. Let's see. Yeah, okay, Fancy, I getcha. Yeah, wanted the 2470 but opted for the 2875 due to the price. I totally understand that for sure. A session this weekend and they will be running in the rain. Would I be okay with the 35 or the 50? I would prefer a 30. It depends on how many people are in the image. If it's like a large family, you could take both of these really. Are either of them weather sealed? I would take the one that's weather sealed. You could take either. You could use both. You could use the 35 for group photos. You could use, but if it's just like 1 or 2 people, I would just use the 50 the whole time. Cheyenne is asking if I upload raw images and edit them to a hard drive, and how long do I keep the images? So my current workflow, Cheyenne, this is a great question, is I take my images in raw format. Thank you for following me and sharing the live. Fancy followed me. Callum shared it. Black Lens followed me. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Just 2 people. Yeah, the 50 millimeter for sure. Oh, fake rain using a water hose. I love it. We got to do what we got to do. So my current workflow is I shoot in raw. I upload my images. So I store my images on an external hard drive by importing them through Lightroom Classic. So I use Lightroom Classic's catalog features and organizational features. So I put the images, the raw images, on my external hard drive. I usually 5-star rate my favorite ones that I want to edit. And I edit those and I export them as JPEG to my external hard drive in it like a separate folder. Like I'll have the raw folder and then I'll have like the edited folder. Whether or not I keep the raw images that I don't use depends on what it is. So if it's a wedding, I keep all of the raw images for usually a year. And I state that in my contract so that my wedding couple knows how long I will have access to their images. And I only keep all of the raws just in case they receive their portfolio or their gallery, excuse me, and they're like, oh, remember that one part where my dad did that funny thing? Do you have any images of that? And it might be a photo that's really important to them that I did not know the significance of, so I didn't edit it. So I keep those on hand. Regular family sessions, I don't keep the unedited raws for more than a few weeks. My personal images, I don't keep the unedited raws at all. I just edit the ones that I want to keep for my family's sake, and then I just delete the ones that I'm not using. Hello, Ogun Sanya. How are you? Da, 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 da. These are great questions. I'm loving the questions, loving the engagement. Thank you guys for liking the live and following me and everything. I hope everyone's having a great, great day. Hello, Heidi Lynn. How are you? I ate, late night. Yeah, you're so right. Everything that I know, exactly. Yeah, it's really important when you're doing weddings to kind of keep everything because weddings are such emotional days, very important days. So it's really great to have communication up front about what's most important for your couple, what they want to capture. There's always a little emotional element that they want to make sure is included. So definitely do that communication beforehand, but just in case something unexpected happens and you didn't deliver it in the gallery because you didn't know the significance of it, it's good to have those photos on hand for sure. Oh, Heidi, thank you so much. You're so sweet. Editing away. That's awesome. John Rue, hello to you over in the Philippines, my dear friend. Oh, Jay sent me 5 heart puffs. I totally missed it. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate you. May Elizabeth, how are you, my dear? So yeah, so that's happened. So like I said, this weekend I'm doing a styled shoot, which I'm really excited for because if you are a follower of mine, you know that I haven't really been doing client sessions since I moved here to New Jersey, really. So all of my client sessions took place back when I lived in San Diego. I did maternity, family, weddings, high school graduation, senior photos, all that fun stuff. And then when we moved here to New Jersey, my husband's in the military. I lost all of those clients and I was pregnant and I was like, I really don't want to build this from the ground up right now. I don't have the bandwidth. So I created a TikTok channel and I've been educating. So since this has sort of like taken over my photography life, I haven't done a session in a really long time. So I'm very excited. I'm actually going with a photography group here in Jersey. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited. Thank you, May. I'm so glad you're here, my dear. Yes, the lenses are so expensive. Late night, you're so right. I would just use the adapter. Honestly, I would use the adapter. I've got it right here. I've been making a lot of videos lately on the image differences between like the 85Z mount and then the 85 DSLR, and like you just don't see a difference. If you're zoomed into like 400%, you see a difference probably, but for sure. But when you're just looking at the image, your client will not know the difference. If you have client-based photography, they will not know the difference. And you yourself really, the difference is so minute. That's not the right word for that, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Hi Neil, how you doing? You get it, you get it. I do not know anything about the Kodak AZ255. I don't know a darn thing about it. Let's Google it. AZ55. Is it a point and shoot camera? I think it might be. Yes, it's a point and shoot digital camera. Plane spotting, plane's about 15 feet away. I don't know, my friend. I'm so sorry. I don't know a lot about point and shoot cameras. It does have a wide angle lens on it, all the way down to 28 millimeters. These cameras function a lot differently than DSLR cameras. Or point and shoot cameras are a whole class of cameras on their own. So I don't know a lot about them. I've actually never, well, I did own a Nikon Coolpix when I was like in high school. So that's not exactly true that I haven't ever owned one, but I'm sure it will be fine. Yes, Callum, for sure. I buy 90% of my gear used. So Tiff is asking how to start booking clients in a professional way, and they are just starting out. So how to start booking clients in a professional way. I have a lot of tips, right? So let's just start from the bottom and work our way up. So I don't know where you are in your journey, but what you want to focus on right now is getting a portfolio that showcases the kind of work that you want to be paid for. So a lot of times when beginners are first starting out and they're looking for free work, they'll take images of anything because they really need a portfolio, right? So it doesn't matter if you aspire to be like a wedding photographer, or if you really want to take pictures on the beach, or if you want to be an in-studio newborn photographer. Make sure that whatever free work you're doing, you're very picky about it. You want to be very choosy. Excuse me, I had to burp. You want to advertise your free sessions very specifically. I'm looking for a couple. I'm looking for a family of 3 or a family of 4. I want the wardrobe color palette to be these colors. I want to meet at this time, at this location, at this day, and I will give you 5 images in exchange for you doing this styled session with me. And you want it to be so perfectly representing the work that you want to be paid for, right? And that's what you want to post on your website or your portfolio, your social media, whatever. You don't want to just be posting all these images that you take that don't reflect where you want to be as a professional photographer, right? So that's my first tip. Get your portfolio really robust and get it looking like what you want to be paid for, okay? You want to have a website or somewhere where clients can easily view your work and easily reach out to you for a session. Thanks, Heidi, for chiming in there. So you can create a free website on Pixieset or Shootproof or PicTime. You can build your own website. I pay for Squarespace, and you can get your own domain. You can do that if that's where you are financially and you're able to do that, but you don't have to. So get that and put all your images there and all of that. You want to have a Google business listing. I'm always talking about this literally in the last 3 lives. So if you were here for those, I'm sorry, I'm a broken record. Google business listings are free, and you want to make sure that it represents the location where you are, right? So you want to put in, Nancy Smiley Photography. Heidi's like, yes. Nancy Smiley Photography, South Jersey, Philadelphia area, my phone number, my email, and my website, all on Google for free. Then you're going to go back to anyone that you've ever taken photos of, free or not, and you want to say, hey, here's my Google link. You want to have the link shareable, and you want to say, please go leave a review of your experience with me. And It doesn't have to be paid work. It can be free work. It can be volunteer work. They still received your services and they can leave a review. The more reviews you get, the higher you're going to rank in those search results. So that when people Google family photographer near me or wedding photographer near me or whatever, your business pops up and it's got a link to your website or your phone number or your email. Okay, so you want to be doing that. You want to have a Facebook page where you invite people to like it. You want to have maybe an Instagram too, and you want to share images every single day. You don't have to share 10 images a day, just share 1 image a day. So you want to be doing that. Now, what was the actual question? How do I start booking clients in a professional way? So when it comes to like a professional process for booking clients, hang on, I'm getting like pressure in my ears. I think I might be getting sick because I had a little bit of a sore throat this morning. So as long as you have a website, like I said, free or not, that's that impression is very strong on your potential clients. So you want to make sure that it looks really, really nice. And they can either book with you on the phone or via email, or if you have a website set up, that's great. Whether you have your contract is just a PDF document and you email them, or if it is text that's built into your website, so there's a lot of different things, a lot of different options here, but those are my main tips. But if you have specific questions, let me know for sure. It's engraved. Yeah, so B's been here. She's been here a while. She knows the dealio. Yes, keep your Google updated. Add your own images to your Google business. You can add images to your Google business. Put your photos on there as well, not just on your website, not just on your Facebook, not just on your Instagram. And when you're looking for clients, the circle is going to start very small, right? So you're going to be like in your neighborhood Facebook pages going like, hey, any seniors who are graduating, who are looking for a photographer last minute, I'm available. So you're going to start talking to your friends. You're going to start talking to your coworkers. And the circle starts small. And you want to give, after you do get a paid session or two, you want to tell clients that, they have like a referral discount. So if somebody comes to you and is like, hey, my friend Sarah just got her photos done from you. I think they look great. She suggested I do mine. And then you could be like, cool, you get a 10% discount, because that tells Sarah. And then you could tell Sarah, hey, Sarah, if you refer a friend, they get 10% off and you get 10% off. Or you get 5 extra images for free, or whatever your pricing model is. Yes. So Tiff is asking, should I make my clients sign a contract even though I'm still starting out? Yes, you do. So a paying session versus a free session, the contract's going to be a little bit different, but a lot of it is going to be the same. I have a playlist on my TikTok, photography business or biz or something. So go watch those videos. I have a couple videos on what I would suggest goes in your contract. But the contract should state things like, I will be the only photographer present. You're not allowed to bring your sister or your mother or your brother and take photos. Just me. It's me. Hi. I'm the photographer. It's me. You want to have the agreed upon terms. So this contract states, sorry, hold on. My son is down at the pool, so I got to answer a text. Okay. There we go. Oops. Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. There we go. So the agreed upon terms should be in the contract. Hey, Juan, thank you so much. Client, still reference them as client. So client A, agrees that the session will take place on this date at this time, and it will last for 1 hour or 90 minutes or whatever. And in exchange, they will receive 5 free images for their, for the session. And if they're interested in more, they can buy them. That's another trick, you guys. If you're doing free sessions, only say that they're going to receive like 5 images, but you can post, like, I would recommend having a gallery website like ShootProof or PicTime or PixieSet. Those are usually how I would deliver my images. I used ShootProof, but you can use whatever one you want. They're all very, very similar, and they have very similar prices. Post all the images. Like if you have 35 usable images that you think are just like amazing, post all 35 in the gallery, heavily watermarked, and say, hi, it's time to go in and choose your favorite 5 images that you get in exchange for the free session. If you're interested in more than those, let me know, and they cost $20 each or $45 each or whatever your price model is. So that's another way to actually make money when you're in the free zone of your. And then another thing is, you don't want to be doing free work for like ever. You want to have like maybe 3 or 5 free sessions, and then you want to not be free anymore. I should have brought a water over here. Every session takes me 1 to 1.5 hours, and I deliver 20 to 30 images. Should I charge per hour or by images? This is a really hard question to answer. And there's no wrong answer. So here's how pricing works. It's such a robust topic, right? So when you're trying to determine your prices, Rudy also asked, how do I handle pricing? Tiff, you can create contracts yourself. You can buy a contract. My course, Snapshots to Success, I actually have contracts in there for you. I think it's $50 if you're interested. I teach you how to price your photography, how to create your packages, how to market yourself. I have sample contracts, sample profit and loss spreadsheets, all of that. So if you're interested, that's always there for you. Oh, and I have a free resource as well. If you go to nancysmiley.com, on the freebies page, I have a building your business checklist, which has like a checklist of a lot of really important parts of building a business that you might not think about when you're a beginner. So go download that as well. So when you're determining your pricing, guys, the most important thing, first of all, you don't want to be charging $50, $100, $150 for a session. You don't want to be doing that, okay? I don't care where you're located or how much experience you have. If your prices are that low, you are essentially paying money to let people take your, or to allow people to take their photo. That was really hard. So you want to determine how much photography costs you. You have to know your cost of doing business. And I know that a lot of people say that, and it seems like a hard approach, but it's so crucial and important. So when you're first starting out, take a look at the gear you own. Okay, so if you have a $1,500 camera and a $500 lens and $200 of memory cards and hard drives or whatever, let's say you've got an investment of $3,000 of gear. Laptop, flash, whatever, $3,000. You want to Google depreciation because you need to factor that into your cost of doing business. So you could say that your camera depreciates 10% per year. I'm not a tax specialist, so don't quote me on that. But you want to factor that into your cost of business. Then all of your subscription fees. So if you pay a subscription to Adobe, Lightroom, Photoshop, if you pay a subscription to ShootProof, if you paid for more storage on Google Drive, all of those subscriptions. If you pay for props because you're a newborn photographer or a high school graduate photographer, you want to factor all that in. Okay, so let's say that it costs you $500 a month to just do photography, right? That's just a totally random number. So you're going to say, okay, it costs me $500 per month, and I need to make $2,500 a month. I don't know. So if whether it's your full-time gig or just a part-time thing for you, you might want to pay yourself, like your paycheck, $2,500 a month, $4,000 a month. It all depends on you, right? So now we're looking at $5,000 a month. Okay, that's crazy high. So that can scare people off, but sorry, we're just using random numbers. So then you'll say, okay, I need to make a revenue of $5,000 a month. There's also taxes. All of this I talk about in my course. So you have to factor in 20% for taxes, or maybe 40%, depending on if you have a spouse whose income is also taken into consideration. So let's say you do 10 sessions a month, or your goal is to do 10 sessions a month, right? You would take that $5,000 figure, you would divide it by 10, and you would get $500 a session. So whether you say, okay, I need to make $500 a session, so I'm gonna make a package that costs $500, everything included, all inclusive, my session fee, the package of their digitals, all in one, it's $500. And then you could have like a higher package if you wanted, that includes more digitals. Or if you want to then determine an hourly rate. There's not a lot of people commenting, so either this is going way over your heads or you're super invested. I hope it's the second one. So if you know that you need to make $500 a session, and you know that it takes you an hour to take the photos and it takes you 2 hours to edit the photos, now you're looking at 3 hours, and you divide that by 500 and your hourly rate is like $160 an hour. So those were totally random numbers, okay? If you want to make $4,500 a month, that would be your full-time job, right? There's a lot of people who don't start out doing this full-time. There's a lot of people who say, I am just a mom who wants to help pay the car payment every month. I really only care about pocketing $500. Anything other than that is a bonus, right? So everybody's in a different position here. Everyone is on a different journey. So that's why it's crucial to not just know the number to charge, but to figure out how much it costs you and how much you want to make, and how much you need to save for taxes, and then get that number and divide it by, I'm hoping to just do 2 sessions a month, or I've been really busy lately and I'm the only photographer in a small town and I think I could get 10 sessions a month. And then that helps you figure out your pricing. Hello, champion, how you doing? Tiff is saying I should make a video on this. I feel like I have a video in my business playlist, but I'm not sure, honestly. Hannah, what camera are you using? Hannah and Luke, hello. Hannah has an extended family session coming up and has the 50mm lens. And do I have any tips? So number one, are you needing tips with your camera settings? Like you're worried about what aperture to use, or, what are you worried about? Yeah, so most people are worried about camera settings for sure, right? So, one, I know I need to start posting my lives on YouTube. I really do. Why aren't I doing that? I have not pinpointed why I'm not doing that. It's either anxiety or it's laziness, and I haven't been giving it the emotional attention that I should. Just to be totally transparent. Okay, so what camera settings should I use? Hannah, my darling girl. You want to make sure that everyone's in focus with a big group. We're going to do some really fun exercises, you guys. Hold on to your bootstraps. We're going in. So we're going to help Hannah determine what aperture she should use with the Canon R100, which is a crop sensor mirrorless camera with a 50mm lens. So let's dive in. We are going to go to photopills.com/calculators/DOA. F. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that you can see what I'm going to teach you. Hannah, I'm about to blow your mind. But I will stop sharing my screen because I am streaming on my computer, guys, so that we can talk face to face, right? So here we go. Let's do the darn thing. So I highly recommend this tool. The point that I'm going to teach right now is your aperture number can be any aperture number and still get everyone in focus. So let's rock and roll. I just need to come up here and pick a crop frame camera really quick, and I can't figure it out. Well, I know these ones are crop frames. Okay, so let me share my screen, guys. Bada bing. There we go. So here we have, oh my Lenta. Like I said, this is photopills.com. You can Google depth of field calculator. So first you have to choose the camera that you have. As you can see, they don't have the R100, but what's most important is that you pick a crop frame camera. So the Rebel series is a crop frame. We're using a 50 millimeter lens. Let's say we put our aperture all the way down to 2.4, okay? So when you focus on something, it's important to remember how focus functions. This is photopills.com. If you Google depth of field calculator photopills, it's going to pop up. Thank you so much. You're so kind. So remember, guys, that when you focus on something, whether it's, let's say it's me and it's my eyeball, focus is always going to reach all the way across your frame. So even though you only have one little red box that focuses, it's not just right here on my face. It always expands all the way across. It's a plane of focus. It's like a strip, right? How deep it goes from front to back in your photo is what's determined by your aperture as well as your distance from your subject, okay? Distance is what makes us able to take a huge group photo with a very low aperture number. Oh, can you not hear me? Sorry, am I quiet or am I loud? Juan, thank you so much for sending these little popular gifts. I appreciate you. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Awesome. So remember, you're focusing on my eye. It always reaches across, and we are going to control how deep it goes, okay? So let's look at this. When we are using, let me pull up my screen, my bad. When we're using a 50 millimeter lens at f2.4, if we stand 20 feet away from our subject, we have this number right here, the depth of field. And you can see it's 4.42. And you have more focus behind and less in front. So let me break this down for you. So we have 4.4 feet. That's almost 4.5 feet. That's pretty good. So if you have 2 rows of people, let's say 3 rows of people, you always want to focus on someone in the middle row. And if you do that, even at a wide open aperture like 2.8, as long as you're standing far away, 20 feet away, and if you focus on someone in the middle row, your focus will extend forward almost 2 feet. That's probably long enough to get the row in front, and it will extend behind 2.5 feet. Now, let's watch what happens as we get closer. So, like I said, that's 20 feet away. Well, we're very rarely standing 20 feet away. So let's take 10 steps closer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we can see that when we stand 10 feet away, our focus area shrinks all the way down to only having 1 foot of focus. So that means that if you focus on me 10 feet away, f2.8, you're going to have only about 6 inches. So if you focus on my eye, let's say, you'll have only about 6 inches in front of my eye and 6 inches behind my eye in focus. So that's not enough. So go to, I forgot, what was that name? The name was Hannah. Hannah, go to, you've never seen that tool before, Heidi. I know, it blows a lot of people's minds. I love teaching my students about depth of field. In my photography course, Mastering Manual Mode, which if you guys are interested, you can get 10% off. After the live, I'll email you a coupon code if you put your email in with this little orange Service Plus button. In my course, I have 6 modules or chapters. The chapter on focus is the longest one because there's so much to learn that is never taught. Like when you're, especially for like people who kind of like DIY learning photography, which was me for a very long time, you don't learn stuff like that. So Hannah, you can go to the PhotoPills website or any depth of field calculator, and you can see that. Now for you, you're probably not going to want to stand 20 feet away. So let's look at something a little more realistic, right? So it's probably more realistic that you'll be standing about 10 feet away. Let's say 12. Let's bump you up to 4.5. If you use 4.5, it only goes to 3 feet. So if you haven't noticed yet, backing up, creating more distance actually makes your focus area grow more than increasing your aperture does. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. And let me know if you have specific questions about it. This also changes greatly depending on the focal length of the lens. So an 85 millimeter lens is going to have a more shallow depth of field at these numbers than a wide angle lens like a 35. So it's a really fun tool to go in and play with and learn from. And, you know, I mean, I'm just saying I could teach you a lot about focus in my course. I didn't know about all this. Yeah, it's a really great tool, very helpful tool. I need to write a blog post about it. I've been putting a lot of energy into my blog. I need to write a blog post about, let me just write that down actually. I've got my little sticky note here of blog post ideas. Hi, Casey. DOF Calc. 95% self-taught. Yes, I know. Even today, I learn new stuff all the time. Especially just like random bit of information. So my son just joined the swim team, and so I've been volunteering my time to go take photos of the swim meets and stuff like that and uploading them to the swim team's Google Drive so that they have like lots of images for their season. Hi, Ron. How you doing? And there's two other parents who are photographers, and one of them, his name is Tom. Shout out to Tom. He's not here on my live, but you know, hey Tom. He is a film photographer primarily, and well, not primarily, but he has a lot of experience in film, and I have not done film since I was in high school. So he's constantly teaching me stuff too, which is really neat. Heidi, this is in my my main photography course, which is Mastering Manual Mode. I have a lot of students who go through that course and they're like, dude, I've been doing photography for 5 years and I learned so much from your course that I didn't know that I didn't know. You know what I mean? So that's always very rewarding for sure. Juan, thank you for the little heart me. I appreciate you. You're so kind. You're so kind. You're so kind. So looking at this really quick, we have 20 new followers, I think. Thank you guys for following me. I appreciate you and for trusting me to answer your questions and all of that. And I love to have my mind blown. I know for sure. Tom actually just asked me a question yesterday because he is doing his very first wedding on a beach. And he was like, have you ever taken photos on the beach? And I was like, Tom, almost all my photos are taken on the beach. I was a family photographer for 5 years in San Diego. So he was like, oh, thank God. Do you think I need an ND filter? And I was like, no way. You don't need an ND filter. So we really like talking, and it's very fun. Yes, yeah, my coupon, this feature right here, the 10% off, it's good for any course on my website. The business course, my Lightroom editing course, mastering manual mode. Yes, yes, yeah. So if you enter your email, I will send you that code after the live for a little 10% off. And you can apply that to both the one-time payment or the 3-month payment plan. Hey, Donk, how are you today, my friend? Where are you in the UK? I don't remember where you are, but I feel like you've told me before, but I don't remember. Quick shout out to Juan, B, Heidi, Andrew, A. Andrews, Champion, Tiff, May, Amber, Hannah, Donk, everybody who's here and is my regulars. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate you guys. Canterbury, I don't know where that is. I'm such a little lame-o. NR Canterbury. Oh. Canterbury is a city in Kent. Oh. Fascinating. Only 55 miles from London. Very cool. Very cool. Hey, Tiff. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. Yeah, Kent. Oh, right. Sorry. I didn't even say, sorry. You said Kent. I'm an idiot. Oh, Champion, you're so welcome. Like I said, I really need to start putting these on YouTube. I just get worried because they're in like the vertical format, and I don't know if people like that, you know? What are you gonna do? And if anybody does decide to join my course, I would really love it if you go post in the student community. So in fact, maybe I'll just show you the inside of the course curriculum. That's always fun. We can do that. But if you join as a student, there's going to be a little button that says community, and you can go introduce yourself. You can post your images for feedback or just to be able to share your images, post questions, stuff like that. Just connect with the other students. I always recommend that. I'm thinking about putting this community on Facebook, but I'm not sure yet. On Facebook, but I'm not sure yet. Yeah, I do post all of my TikTok stuff. I post on YouTube. But the live sessions, I don't usually post those on YouTube. But a lot of people tell me that I should. Okay, great. We need a link. Oh, to the YouTube? My YouTube name is the same as my TikTok name. Same as Instagram as well. Samesies. Thank you, Juan, for the little gifts. I appreciate you. Thank you. Does anybody know when we started? When did we start going live? Oh, God, it's been 1 hour and 34 minutes. Well, that's great. I really wish that my live was not restricted, but it's being restricted right now, and I don't know how to fix that, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, I don't know how to fix that. Oh. Hey, TK. Right now, I don't have a posing course. I do have 2 things that might help you, though. Freebie. I have 47 child poses. You can download that for free. I'm going to show you, actually. So when you go to my website, nancysmiley.com, if you go to freebies, right down here, I have the 47 child poses, different angle variations, single children, siblings. So you can download this for free. But if you go to the resources page, and you come right down here. I have the Ultimate Prompts package. So this is 2 guides. One is 100 prompts for like children and family photos. And then the second one is 100 prompts for like documentary style. It's sort of like exercises and starting points to making your photography a little bit more like documentary style, like storytelling. So that is $20 for 200 prompts and stuff. And you get access to the student community as well. So that's cool. But I do really want to build a course on composition, especially because that is very fun and a really interesting topic, and I love talking about that. Okay, let's go back to the comments because I wasn't paying attention. I would recommend making a Facebook page, even if you get scammed. So, well, no, wait, sorry. Even if there is a threat of being scammed by potential clients that are not really clients, it's really worth it to have a Facebook page. So, a couple things on this topic. Number one, you can almost always identify a scammer. They usually put very bad grammar in their messages, and it's almost always easy to identify. Second, if you are worried that someone is trying to scam you, there's a couple of things you can do. You can ask for a video call. So you can say that it's just standard procedure and you do a video meet and greet to just get on the same page, introduce yourselves because it's a new client. If they decline doing that, then that's a big red flag and you wouldn't want to work with those clients anyway. So it's always identifiable because there's bad grammar. You can ask for a video call. If they decline, move on. And then secondly, if you're part of any Facebook photography groups like Unscripted, Posing and Prompting, any photography groups, like your location, like California photographers or San Diego photographers or whatever, post a picture of the DM and be like, hey, do you guys think this is a scam? And there are tons of seasoned photographers who will be like, no, I think they just might be like a little bit older, or yes, I think this is totally a scam. So yeah. But I think it's worth it to have a Facebook page. I think my comments from my other account need to be approved. Hey, SGD, what do you mean? Here in the live or something else? Yeah, WhatsApp, no, that's a big red flag. That's a scam. I hate scammers. So I used to work in finance before I did photography. Well, while I did photography, actually, I worked in finance. Since moving here to Jersey and doing this education realm, I quit my finance job. Thankful for students like you. And I hate scammers. I hate scammers so much, you guys. And you see it so much in finance. I started my finance career in a bank in Wells Fargo. I saw so many older people getting scammed, and it was heartbreaking. Young people too. Oh, I freaking hate it. I hate it so much. I would receive checks as a teller that were very clearly whitewashed and then like drawn over. Oh, and I was like, dude, I have such a passion for this. I should have been in like fraud prevention, but there you go. I'm not in fraud prevention. I've been trying to ask the same question since yesterday. Oh no. Okay, so SGD, what is your other account name? And also, I am streaming from my computer, and you have to do it. I can't stream directly on TikTok. I have to stream via OBS, which is a streaming software, and it's really annoying. So I actually can't see unapproved comments. Otherwise, I would have totally like approved it. I wonder why it's being held back. Are you using something like block? Are you using the word block? Or, oh, frick, I don't know. I'm so sorry. That's annoying. Oh, wait, you can send it to me in a DM. I can check my DMs. Just send it to me in a DM. Dahlia, how are you? Okay. Yeah, it's quiet. It's quiet today because we only have 25 folks in here. Um, my ride or dies because of this restriction. I'm wondering if maybe I should stop the live and then come back on, and maybe it won't be restricted anymore since I took down my website name. That's really annoying. Oh well. Just messaged you. Okay, cool. Let me go get the message. Let me go get the message. One sec. Okay, messages. Oh, crike. I just closed the wrong tab, but that's okay. Okay. Oh, so that's interesting. So the question that SJD was asking was how much I charge for watermark removals from free shoots. So if I had done a free shoot and I had promised an exchange of like five free images with the option to pay for more, I would charge per image. And again, this goes back to your pricing model. But when you're a beginner, if you don't have a lot of experience, you can charge anywhere from like $10 to $30 per image would be my suggestion. That's not my suggestion for like long term. I'm just saying that like while you're in the free part of your photography journey, that's probably what I would suggest, is like 10 to 30 per image, just depending on how much experience you have and things like that. TK, there's a number of ways to watermark your photos. You can do it in Lightroom, you can do it in Photoshop, but also if you pay for a gallery site like Shootproof or Pixieset, you can add or take off a watermark on those websites as well. That's a great question. So you can create your own watermark, even in like Canva, but you have to pay for the subscription to have the background removed. So, yeah. Alexis, how are you? Good to see you again. Okay. All right, guys. Sorry. I was reading something and I got distracted. Okay, so do you need to have an LLC license to have Squarespace? No, you don't. Not that I'm familiar with. No, you don't. To build your website on Squarespace? No, I don't think so. You can build a website no matter what your business structure is, or if you have no business structure, you can build a website. Yeah, for sure. I switched to Squarespace from Wix. I didn't really like Wix. I don't think it's very beginner friendly. I really like Squarespace. I think that the SEO on Squarespace is great as well. So I highly suggest it. But you do have to pay for it and it can get expensive. So I wouldn't pay for a website before I had like paying clients. I would use a free site until I built up like a paying client, until that became like the gears were really rolling on that. Then I would probably switch to owning my own domain. Or at least Or if you're really passionate about having your own domain, just start with like a really small website plan. I used Shootproof. I used Shootproof as like my gallery hosting site, and it's free. Although it's only free for like 100 photos. And then if you have more than 100 on there, you have to pay. So it would be like nancysmiley.shootproof.com type situation. Pixie Set is also very popular as well. And then what I would do to maintain the free status is like, I would just only host 100 photos at a time. So I would tell my clients like, your photos will only be available for 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. And then I would take that gallery down. You can still like store the images there. It just can't be like an active, I think. It just can't be like an active gallery that clients can access. So yeah, there's that. What are my thoughts on Lightroom? Lightroom Classic is my main photo editing software that I use, so I love Lightroom. Oh my gosh, that's so funny, Dunk. I'm actually going to be signing off too, you guys. So I will be live again tomorrow, I think. So I hope to see you there. Hopefully we don't get another restriction. If so, I'm just gonna boycott TikTok Live in general. It's a little bit of a headache, but we be doing what we can, right? So that's all for me, guys, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully. So